Hey Cyberhero, we want to apologize for a technical issue during the recording of this episode. Unfortunately, we experienced an error that caused the video footage to be lost, but thankfully, we were able to save the audio. This conversation with Ryno le Roux is packed with incredible insights about leadership, building top-performing MDR teams, and what it takes to succeed in cybersecurity. While we don't have the video, the audio is filled with value we didn't want you to miss. Thank you for your understanding and continued support. Let's dive into this amazing episode.
Ladies and gentlemen, cyber heroes and cyber fans, welcome to another episode. As you know, I'm your host, Mr. Fingers, well known as that cybersecurity guy. And today, we actually have a phenomenal guest. As you know, we always have phenomenal guests, but today's guest is a powerhouse in the cybersecurity world. He's a seasoned cybersecurity operations manager with over 13 years of experience in the company that he currently works for, where he's actually been an instrument in the diving world of world-class of cybersecurity solutions and also delivering expectational services to clients. His expertise spans a broad spectrum, from leading a threat hunting team to managing incident response and also crafting cutting-edge cloud security architects and motivating teams to think outside the box. Now, currently, he's managing a detection and response team. Ladies and gentlemen, cyber heroes and cyber fans, please help me welcome Ryno. Welcome, mate. How are you?
Good in you, man. What an introduction it was.
You didn't expect that, I'm sure.
No, not at all.
Yeah, man. You know, you've had a very remarkable career field, especially in the current company that you work for, NEX, spending over 13 years working in there. Now, what really inspired your journey into cybersecurity, and how has that role actually evolved over the years?
So it's actually quite interesting. It was when we started our cybersecurity journey at NEC XON, at that stage still XON Systems, it was about 2018. So coming from a sysadmin perspective and a junior techie way back in the day, started working in IT in 2007, you always had that kind of a sense of the security, but at the early stages in South Africa, it wasn't so big. You used to watch all these movies and all this cybercrime and CSI cyber, and it all looked so cool, but there was always that underlying thing about security. And it was in 2018 that I tried my journey to join the cybersecurity BU. And, I went through studies, knocked on the door numerous times. I never stopped knocking. I kept on knocking every time. And I got my opportunity finally in 2020. I think it's 2020, 2021, end of 2020, beginning of 2021. That's when my cybersecurity career started, actually. So you can say it's about 3 years now, 3 solid years, going on 4.
And you've actually built a really great profile for yourself, with that being said, because you've worked really hard on you. What motivates you, actually?
If you do what you love, you never work a day, right? But in cyber, it's a lifestyle, it's not just a job. So with that being said, you find everything interesting, and that's what keeps you going. It's like you go down this tunnel, you see something more interesting, and you follow it, and you try and pursue as much as you can. And generally, I mean, if you look at it, there's a lot of people that will say, they've been in security for 20 years, which haven't, and then even they haven't even scraped the bottom of the security pool. There's so much. You'll never kind of know everything, but to know enough and then specialize in something. But the motivation is, like I said, it's a lifestyle. It's a passion. It's something that intrigues. And the best thing about the cyber industry is we all know today, tomorrow, and the day thereafter, it's never the same. It's always different. There's always something new. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, and there's one thing I love about you, that you are known for being a very motivational leader. It's something which I want to really dive into in terms of how do you inspire and manage your team, especially as we know, working in MDR and also working in threat hunting, it can be a really high pressure environment. But how do you motivate them in terms of, hey guys, how to do this, how to do that, how you go about?
You know what? The biggest thing is painting a picture for the team and actually taking their hands and joining the team. Not just sitting saying, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. Dive in there, do it with them. Countless, endless nights. You go through the ropes with the guys, and you lead from the front. And due to the team's ethical nature, that they can see the bigger picture behind. I always tell them there's some method behind my madness. I know I might sound crazy in requesting this, but at the start they might have thought, yeah, the guy's a bit crazy, but shortly after that they realized, but he's got a good thing going here, and he's taking us somewhere. And showing the value and appreciation. It's simple things, and just by managing your team the way you would have expected someone to manage you. And it comes from a previous leader. I had a phenomenal leader when I started the cybersecurity business, as you know, Armand. And I just took whatever he taught me and the way that he taught and made it my own, and just started utilizing that and motivated my teams in the same way.
And it's quite inspiring because Armand is amazing as well. He's very goal driven in everything that he does, and hence why he passed on everything to you as well. And there's people who want to be leaders and who look up to leaders like yourself. What advice would you give to somebody who's aspiring to become a leader? Because you've got the technical side, and you've also have, which is very well balanced, and how to balance your technical side, and you also have the soft skill side, which you've balanced very well when it comes to both of that. What advice would you give to somebody who only has the technical side, but they don't have the soft skill side of things, but they want to become a cybersecurity leader?
In the end, it's just do it. It's like I tell the guys as well, present, even if it's just a book training sessions within the team, and every team member on a weekly day get an opportunity to present their use case to the greater team. So you start within the team that you work with, where you feel comfortable, just building at soft skills. And I know a lot of the times, as soon as you get let's say earmarked for a more senior position or a leadership position, it might feel overwhelming because you get a lot more responsibilities, a lot more tasks get handed to you. And a lot of the times, people do that to test you, to see, are you going to take everything up, or are you going to ask for help and try and delegate some of those tasks? There's a big thing of, you don't need to own everything, but you need to ask for help, right? And it's the way that you go about when you get handed tasks. It's a test. A lot of the times, everything's a test. So those soft skills as well, unfortunately, you need to practice those skills. You need to present, right? You need to have conversations with leadership or senior management or so forth. And, a lot of the times, people don't get that opportunity. And that's part of why the guys would say they appreciate me, is I give them that opportunity. I ask the guys, okay, but can you present this? I'll be there. I'll be your backing, but let's see how it goes. I mean, what can go wrong? If you see it's, the guy's struggling, you jump in, you take over. You don't leave him to sink. But in that sense, that's how you try and learn or teach people that soft skills. And a lot of the times, some of my team members in the early days said to me, they only realized after a month or two of reading my mails, the way that I write the mails and the way that you do certain things, Some of it's technical driven, some of it's business driven, some of it's, let's call it political driven, but you need to read the room. And that's that's soft skills that you can, be taught. But the biggest soft skill that you need to have is character. And that can't be taught. It's within you as a person. It's like the character of Mr. Fingers, Everybody knows that character, that guy. So it's the same thing. It's that small things, but you ultimately try within teams to present and to talk among each other. Don't be afraid to put up your hand and say, listen, yeah, I'll present this use case next week or whatever. That's how you're going to learn. But if you're going to stay in the technical side, I'm not saying you shouldn't be technical, but for a leadership position, you need to start getting that soft skills over those technical skills. And, you'll find your sweet spot as to technical soft skill balance. It's a character thing. It's something you can be taught both, but how you combine that's where individuals should find their sweet spot, because what works for me won't work for you or won't work for the next person. But if you take that guidance and that advice and you make it your own, you'll find a sweet spot.
Yeah, that's actually so good, man. Something just came into mind right now in terms of, because you're such a motivational leader and a great leader in this space as well, I want to find out from you. Maybe somebody out there is watching this as well and they got inspired. They probably maybe would like to work with you in the future, maybe under your team. What type of characters do you look for when, for example, you interview an individual? Because I know character is very important when it comes to you. Yes, they need to know certain things, but I've worked with you. I know you very well. You're very picky and you don't just pick anybody, because it's like you foresee the future of that particular individual before, because you're like, yeah, but let me give it to you. What type of character do you look for?
So, to me, synergy within my team, right, is my number one priority. Because the better they gel together, the better they deliver, right? So it's actually small things. It's how you interpret things, how you carry yourself across, and how you think outside of the box. So a lot of the times in a lot of our interviews, we've got technical people in those interviews for a reason, because you need to have some technical skills, obviously, depending on the position, certain levels of technical skills. But I always sneak up in there for the characteristics, just to see under pressure, how do you think? And a lot of the questions, there's no wrong and no right answer. But it's for me to pick your brain and see, how do you think? And based on that, I'll know whether, the person will fit in with the team or not. A lot of places, a lot of companies in certain positions, I'm sure in your career as well, you might have experienced where you got an L1, L2, L3. So it's a very siloed approach. L1s, they all work together. When it's outside of the L1, it goes to L2. That's another group. And the L3 is a different group. We don't have that. We've got L1, L3 right through the board, right? That's how MDR works. You need to do everything, from presenting to running meetings to doing threat hunting. You need to have everything. So based on that, the methods and the way that people answer certain questions, or the people think outside of the box, that's how I establish who's the next one. And there's a lot of the times there's those hidden gems. You get people that might say, yeah, but if they're overconfident, it's a bad thing. If they're not as confident, it's, also a bad thing. But it's all about how you interpret what the question is. If you actually And the way you answer, it's simple. Like I said, there's no right and wrong answer. But it's just for me to understand, how do you think? And the biggest thing is the type of questions that we get back in interviews also tells me a lot about you. Because even in a workspace, if you don't ask questions, I won't know where your thought method, where your thoughts are you thinking, are you interpreting things? So I don't know where's your strengths, I don't know where's your weaknesses. So how do I mold you to become the better form of yourself if I don't understand where you're at? So yeah, it's it's the small things, dude.
Yeah. And that's actually so great what you said. You said a a lot of things at the same time, and that's everything that you've actually summarized in there. It's what I want to say. It's what I was thinking about. It's something which I actually thought the opposite of. They actually surprised me in some of the things. So I was like, oh, shucks. This is so good and so great, because most people and most leaders, they'll say, I'm looking for a person who's technical. If you're not technical, go away and leave and stuff like that. But you said you're looking for character. And that for me, it's amazing. And the person's characteristics in terms of what you look for and personality as well. And that's amazing. And you manage a managed detection response team as well. Most people don't know what that is.
Recently as well, our network security unit also falls under me, and our professional services.
Yeah, so with the MDR, most people don't understand what an MDR is, and what is that they do on a day-to-day basis. Do you mind explaining and breaking it down? Probably, who knows, maybe your future client is watching and is like, oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah, so on the MDR space, it's like I said earlier, it's where you used to have SOC analysts in certain levels, and then you have specialized threat hunters, and so MDR, your managed detect and response, it's from the guy needs to have analyst skills, forensic skills. So basically, it's like an analyst on steroids, if I can put it that way. Because you typically run with your client where you're assigned to, right? Day to day, looking at the dashboards, looking at the alerts, the incidents, investigating. So typically our MDR guys will be from the start of the incident till the confirmation, closing, logging the ticket on the client's ITMS platform, till the end of the month where you'll have an SLA meeting and actually presenting those incidents to the CISOs or to the management or to the board. So that's the MDR guys. They run from A to Z with incidents. And incident response, all hands on deck. Obviously, the guys have the expertise to back each other. The synergy is there. So yeah, in short, MDR is you start with, you get your alert, you start investigating. If you need to reach out via email to someone, you'll reach out, check, is this you? Is this supposed to happen? The whole incident handling part. And then by recording it on the ITSM systems, and then by reporting on it. So it's a full life cycle of a security incident. That's what the managed detect and response teams do. That's guys that's firsthand has the experience to analyze and to respond on incidents.
And also you've worked with a couple of people trying to come in, because your guys' company, shout out to you guys, first of all. Let me give you that. I really respect what you guys have been doing. I've seen it from firsthand, where you've taken people who, some of them didn't know what cybersecurity is, and you've trained them to become, working in the MDR space as well. I want to say thank you to you guys for giving people that opportunity, first of all. But what common mistakes do you see, such people, such professionals, when they're coming in, or beginners coming into that space, do you see them making, so you can help them avoid those common mistakes going forward?
So it's typically like they aim too high too quick, and just by assumption. So a lot of the times, it's easy for me to say it's a lot easier to spot, because of the fact that I've transitioned from sysadmin. So I've been a sysadmin to security. So you kind of know your IT background. So the thing is, a lot of the mistakes are like people assume that that's how it should be. You second guess everything, right? You need to question whatever you see. You need to confirm and make sure that, in fact, what is there, and what you see is what it's supposed to be. If you suspect a IT guy from a client, oh yeah, he's running backups again, you can't just assume that he did. Find out, email that guy, call that guy. I know you're going to annoy him, but you'll get to a point where the guys with us realized what I told them, show the visibility. You see it's that guy's account that did something, but just reach out. Just ask, was it you or wasn't it you? To such an extent that those people will, whenever they do that in the future, they will give you a heads up saying, listen, I'm going to be doing this X, Y, Z tonight. So you get a heads up. So when you see those incidents come through, by that time, you've put yourself in such a place that you actually then know. But, a lot of the mistakes as well is don't look at too far into the future. Look at the now. Focus on, knocking the ball out of the park where you currently are. And then moving from there upwards, and a lot of people, they tend to listen, but they don't hear what you're saying, and then they struggle to see that bigger picture that you're trying to show them, and that's small common mistakes, and don't go with any buzz or hype word that you see. Everybody says, everybody thinks a CISO position is the best to have. But is it for you or is it not? You generally, CISOs, if something goes wrong, that's the first head on the chopping block. People need to understand that. Certain certifications, CISA Plus, whatever it may be, people tend to hear that and they join this buzzword and think that's the route to go. But honestly, also the guys look at the bigger certifications, and I think starting with the smaller ones and actually applying those certifications, gaining that hands-on knowledge, and then moving to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. That's typically, I've seen, where people tend to aim too high, or they want to put too much on their plate because they want to try and look, to impress. You don't need to impress anybody. Your work speaks for itself. It's quality over quantity, and that's the thing. That's some of the small mistakes that people make, is they look past those things.
Thank you so much. That was actually so amazing. And I hope if you're out there and you're still coming up and you want to get into, MDR or the SOC, this guy just dropped a lot of germs right now. So just take notes on that. Uh, what's your biggest challenge that you faced in your career, and how did you overcome that?
Sure. It was actually moving from my previous position to the cyber position.
Yeah.
Thing is, in my previous position, I was there for 10 years. So, and I worked up to that position, so I knew the whole journey up to there. And I think I got into a comfort zone. And then realizing that, but I always had this passion and I need to make it happen. You don't get any younger, and to get that opportunity. So, from there, moving over to the cybersecurity space, was overwhelmed as well. I was very overwhelmed. But like I said, luckily I had a very good leader. That's it's like some of my guys said, that especially my lead, my right-hand man, that guy, he's such a pillar in my operation. He actually also noticed that when he joined us, he also got overwhelmed, but not by the amount of work, but by the knowledge that was thrown at you. From day one, you will sit in a boardroom for 4 hours and knowledge will be pumped at you at high speeds, like every day. For 2-3 weeks, different people just start throwing knowledge at you, advice at you. So, it was, just actually taking a step back and looking at what was given to me, and then said, okay, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And then just stuck my head down, got my hands dirty, and here I am today. So it was quite a roller coaster ride. It wasn't easy, but I think the transition from going from an operational project manager to bottom of the food chain in security as a junior architect, it was a big step, but I knew that, I've got it in me. I can make a success. And here I am.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you had a magic phone right now and you could call your younger self, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Always stick to your first choices. Be cognizant of those choices. And, trust yourself more. Trust your gut, trust your instincts, and trust yourself. If nobody else will trust you, you can trust yourself because you only need yourself to succeed. You don't need anybody else. You need yourself. Nobody else is going to write your exams for you. Nobody's going to do your presentation for you. Nobody's going to take the heat for anything that went wrong on your behalf. It's you. So the sooner you realize that you need to back yourself, the better it will be for you going in the long term. I wish I knew that, when I was younger. And funny, even from school days, if I can tell people this, I know studying it's not lekker. But if I knew 15 years ago how easy it was just by focusing, studying, and actually writing an exam and bettering myself for my career. If I knew then and what I knew now, I would have been in a different ballgame, a different space even. But I had to work harder to get where I wanted to be, because also, you tend to take things for granted a lot of the times, and you don't back yourself. So, but the biggest thing is back yourself 100%. With any decision you make, back it. I had a friend that worked with me, a colleague who recently passed away. He always had this saying when I double checked the decision with him, just to see, because we were both in a kind of management position. So I'll run this past him to ask him. And then he'll just say, but will you be able to back that decision? If someone comes to you and says, why did you make this decision? Will you be able to back it and stand by it? I said, yeah. He says, then it's the right decision. Do it. And that's where I learned that, if I can go to my younger self and tell myself, trust your guts and trust yourself and support yourself, that's probably the biggest take that I can take from my current self to my younger self.
100%. Appreciate, man. Thank you so much for making time, to be in the podcast as well, Dan. And I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Any last words that you would like to leave our viewers out there?
I just want to say thank you to you. I love what you're doing. I think it's amazing. And yourself, you give a lot of valuable insights. There's a lot of posts. I tend to follow a lot of your things that you put out there. And it's amazing if people can look at the interview that we had now, listen to what I've said, and go onto your platform and go and look at the advice that you give, if they can combine that, they've got the golden nugget right there. Yeah, but thank you as well for everything you do, because there's a lot of youngsters that I think get overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. You get a lot of those questions. My son wants to get into cybersecurity. What should he do? Should he do programming? Should he do Python? Should he do that? Should he do this? Start with the basics. I think like something like Security Plus, even it's just the basics. It's like in a rugby match, when things go tough, when all your fancy moves aren't working, go back to the basics. The basics always had a success. And yeah, that's it. That's probably it.